Geek to me radio, da 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 da. Geek to me radio, da 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 da. Welcome, girls and boys, geeks and nerds, to an all-new Geek to Me Radio. We are recapping some of the highlights of our 2018, plus also giving you some new segments to enjoy. We'll be doing Celebrity This or That with Jeremy Shada and Kimberly Brooks. A recap of our interviews with J.M. DeMatteis, Tony Isabella, Justin's Comics joins us, Geeks Worldwide, and more. Stand by! We're talking TV, comics and movies, and video games. And if you don't know Star Trek from Star Wars, we'll try to explain. There are 12 doctors for Hogwarts houses, one ring rules them all. To be the greatest Pokemon master, you must catch them all. You must catch them all. Try to catch them all. Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all. And we have not a lot of time to waste. We're going to get right to it. First of all, I want to make sure that I thank the city of St. Charles, historic St. Charles, the website discoverstcharles.com. They are the premier sponsor of this show. They've been backing it since the beginning in August 2016. Huge shout out to them. We just had a big Christmas traditions dinner banquet to wrap up our year. It was fantastic. Joe Ward was there. The mayor presented our Santa, our original Victorian Santa, with the key to the city for 25 years of service with part of this festival. It's amazing. This festival is in its 44th year of Christmas traditions. It's fantastic. Just not during Christmas time. There is always something on down in the city of St. Charles, whether it be Lewis and Clark Heritage Day festivals, Legends and Lanterns at Halloween. They've got all sorts of fun things. They've got Tartan Day. If you're Scottish descent, you may want to go to St. Charles with your tartan and kilt on. Lots of shops to visit. Plenty of places to eat, brand new restaurants coming all the time, new shops. It's a fantastic place. It's really, really so great that we have something like this here in our area. So if you've not been across the Blanchette Bridge into St. Charles to check out historic St. Charles, do so. If you're from out of town, you're listening to this right now and you're thinking you need to plan a trip for the kids this summer, come see St. Charles. Historic landmarkers, fun places to visit, lots of things to see and do. Check out the website discoverstcharles.com. So last week, we had our Voltron recap again. We had back-to-back episodes of Voltron. We had Andrea Romano. Then we had Jeremy Shada, who plays Lance, and Kimberly Brooks, who plays Allura. We did play a little game of Celebrity This or That with them, just as we did with Bex Taylor Klaus. And here is their Celebrity This or That.
And before we let you go, we're going to play a little game we like to call This or That. I just give you two options, and you just tell me which is your favorite. I'm going to give you five choices. You just tell me which one you prefer: peanut butter, crunchy, or smooth.
Ooh, smooth. Nice and smooth.
And summer or winter?
Winter for sure. I'm a cold-blooded boy. I like bundling up in those coats, man.
And Batman or Superman?
Batman. Sorry, Soup. I like you too, but Batman is just takes the cake.
Hufflepuff or Ravenclaw?
Ravenclaw.
And finally, this might not be a fair question, but Red Lion or Blue Lion?
Oh gosh, I'm just gonna anger people one way or the other. I'll say Red Lion, just because that's the finisher. That's what I end up with, and there's some cool stuff with that in the next season too. So I'll say Red Lion, but that's not to say I still love you, Blue. But I think Blue is in the good, capable hands of Allura, so I'll chill with my Red Lion.
And speaking of Allura, here is Celebrity This or That with voice actress Kimberly Brooks.
And before I let you go, we do this thing where we play a game called Celebrity This or That. I'm going to give you two things to pick from. You just tell me which one is your favorite.
Okay.
So if I were to say milk chocolate or dark chocolate?
Oh, milk chocolate.
The mountains or the beach?
Ooh, beach.
If we're going with music, do you prefer the music of the 80s or the 90s?
Oh, 80s.
And if we're visiting a Voltron planet, Krell or Naxxella?
Oh my gosh. Naxxella? I'm going to go with? I'm not sure.
And finally, since you voiced them both, Batgirl or Batwoman?
Oh. Ooh, that's so tough. Batgirl.
Batgirl.
Yeah.
Celebrity, this or that, with Kimberly Brooks. Kimberly, so very much for your time today. It's been an absolute delight to talk to you. If there's ever another project you've got coming up, we'd love to have you on again sometime soon.
Oh, you're so awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That was fun.
We didn't get to do those during the interview process when we aired their interviews, so I wanted to air those since we just had the Celebrity This or That with Bex that you probably heard last week. So I wanted to get those in. That was a fun game, a great show of Voltron. And with all the people we talked about, some of our favorite comic book writers and artists, we got to interview them throughout the year. It's so hard to pick just a couple, but we did get to talk a little bit with J.M. DeMatteis. We talked about Justice League. The subject of the incomparable Susan Eisenberg came up, and we just kind of rolled from there.
Susan was Wonder Woman on Justice League Unlimited, which I wrote a number of episodes of.
Yeah, and I love the one episode you wrote for that. For the Man Who Has Everything, I think is probably in my top 5 Justice League episodes. It was so great. Eric Roberts from actually Doctor Who played the Master in the 8th Doctor's movie, voiced Mongol. What is the transition when you're writing for television? Obviously, it's very different from writing a comic book, even though a lot of those Justice League episodes were adapted from comic book stories. So what's the process like of writing an episode of television versus writing a comic book?
In comics we have it's much more personal. We have a lot more freedom to tell exactly the kind of stories we want to tell and exactly the way we want to tell them. Not just on creator-owned stuff, but when I was writing Spider-Man, I kind of carved out my own little personal Spider-Man universe, and I was given the freedom to do that. TV, at least when you're hired as a freelancer, if you're the producer or the story editor or the showrunner, whatever it is, you're creating the vision for that show for that season. So when they hire me as a freelancer, they've got their map ready, and my job is to come in and to help them execute their vision. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, of course, to bring as much of myself to the table as I possibly can to make, to bring my own voice to it. But really, I take off my sort of personal vision hat and put on my team player hat when I'm writing for TV. And as long as I do that, I'm having fun. Like working on Justice League with guys like Stan Berkowitz and Dwayne McDuffie, it was just a great experience working on that show. And that's the show that really kind of opened up a whole career in animation for me that's still going on. I'll take a minute and plug the Constantine animated series, which just had its premiere last week on CWC. The first 5 episodes are out. There are 7 more episodes, as well as a full-length DVD coming with extra footage and everything. And that turned out to be just one of the best animation projects I've ever been involved in. I am so happy with the way it turned out. We just had a big premiere 2 weeks ago at WonderCon. And Matt Ryan was there, and we just had a great time. It was I'm so happy with that project and really proud of it.
And the stuff they've done on the CWC, the Constantine you just mentioned, even the Vixen series they had, it's I love the fact that Matt Ryan is now back on Legends of Tomorrow. It's his NBC Constantine. I think NBC made a huge mistake, and I've tweeted about it and made YouTube videos about it. They should not have let that show go. But the fact that the CW picked it back up and brought Constantine in first on Arrow, now on Legends of Tomorrow, has been, and that he's voicing the role. I can't remember the last time someone was on a show that ended up getting canceled, but they've embodied that character so well. They're bringing him back every chance they get. It's incredible.
Yeah, I know. I when I was talking to him, I said, you realize this is it. The rest of your life, you're Constantine, And I didn't mean that in a bad way,
No, it's not a bad thing at all.
It's sort of like being Captain Kirk or Mr. Spock. You will always have that attached to your name for the rest of your life. And he said, well, that's not a bad thing. And he's absolutely right. It's not. And he really is. He is the embodiment of that character. It's like, and, you look at, say, Robert Downey with Iron Man, another great bit of superhero casting. He became Iron Man, but to me, he wasn't he didn't fit my image in my head of Tony Stark. You look at Matt Ryan, and it's as if the character literally walked out of the comic book. I mean, he looks just like him. I mean, it may be in a lot of ways the most perfect bit of comic to screen casting ever. Really, really, he's so great in that part, and we're so lucky to have him doing the voice for the animated stuff as well. It's just great.
Yeah, and he did the Justice League Dark directed, which
right.
DC Comics, too, I got to say, their direct to DVD and Blu-ray videos and full screen features they do are phenomenal. And I know you wrote a few episodes of Justice League Dark for the New 52.
I wrote the Batman versus Robin movie and the Batman Bad Blood movie, and I was one of the writers on the Justice League Dark movie, yeah.
So with Justice League Dark, I know that's a project everyone would love to see on the big screen. It was kind of originally Del Toro was attached to it. Now it's kind of back in limbo. And I know DC movies, again, as I say, their animated stuff and their full features on Blu-ray are fantastic. They seem to not be able to find their footing with their big screen offerings other than Wonder Woman. Did you end up seeing Justice League? And if so, what were your thoughts on that movie?
You know, as I said before when I was talking about being a critic, I don't like to go out of my way and say anything negative.
No.
I did not hate the movie. I did not love the movie. It was just sort of in a middle ground, you know. And I think all I'll say is, I think maybe we all expected a little bit more of it. But there were people that totally loved it. So I don't want to criticize it. And it opened up the door on the Justice League and on that universe. And it's sort of like the old with a lot of these movies, it seems like the second movie is the one that kicks in. You go back all the way back to like Star Trek: The Motion Picture, The Wrath of Khan. When they did the Spider-Man movies, it was the second one, the Dr. Octopus one, Spider-Man 2, that was really fantastic. So it takes a while sometimes to find the right footing. So I have hope that they will knock it out of the park with the second Justice League movie. And as I know from the writing side of things, it's not easy.
Yeah,
putting these things together and finding all the elements and getting them all to work. It's just not Marvel. The Marvel movies have made it look easy.
Yeah, that's really very true.
It's really, really not. And I have great faith in the guys at DC, and I know that Jeff Johns is very involved with this stuff now. And I have tremendous respect for Jeff, and I think he will be a very important voice helping guide them to do the right thing. So. They've had their great successes, like with the Batman movies and with Wonder Woman. They've had some stumbles, and not every Marvel movie has been perfect either. So we'll see. We'll see what the future brings.
There we go, James DeMatteis. If you want to hear any of these full interviews, check me out. You can go wherever you get podcasts from, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Podomatic. Look for Geek to Me Radio. Listen to them. Subscribe to me there, please. Give me a nice 5-star rating. That'd be fantastic as well. Always appreciated. We're going to take our first break. Come right back with our show's newest sponsor, Justin's Comics, letting you know what to expect from Comic Book Day coming up Wednesday. Stand by.
Hi, this is David Mazouz, and you're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
We are back, just like Gotham, now back for its 5th and final season on Fox. For those of you who enjoyed the premiere, that's fantastic. We love that show. We've had both Sean Pertwee and David Mazouz on before. Again, you can catch those. Go back and listen to it wherever you get your podcast from, Google Play, SoundCloud, iTunes, Podomatic, at Geek to Me Radio to find those interviews there. We are joined right now by our newest sponsor going into 2019, Justin's Comics. They've always active on their Instagram accounts. I love looking at the stuff you put up on there, Justin. I always think either I used to have that or, gosh, I really want that. So thanks for coming on the show and talking comics with us.
Yeah, thanks again for having me on again.
Absolutely. So we're just going to talk about what's new in comics, what's coming out, what's hot right now. This is your segment, so where do you want to start?
Yeah, first off, we're having an event this Wednesday. It's Wednesday, January 9th. Captain Marvel #1 launch party. Of course, the Captain Marvel movie's coming up in March.
Yeah.
And Marvel did a great job of putting everything in the market at the right time. But we're going to have a big sale. It's going to be 50% off new comics and 50% off anything Marvel comics or any Marvel merchandise. So that's a great one to start off with there, too. It's supposed to be another fresh start for a Marvel comic. It's an oversized comic priced at $4.99, be $2.50 at half off on Wednesday. But it's a lot of female collaborators working on it. You got Kelly Thompson's the writer, Carmen Carnero's the interior artist, and Amanda Connor's the cover artist. And you'll note that right away. She's done Harley Quinn and stuff like that too. You really see that influence right away on the cover A. So. Yeah, that's right. That's going to spring us into the new year pretty well.
Yeah, Amanda Connor, I always love her art. Loved it on Harley, but obviously she knocks out of the park every time, so I'm glad she's getting it. Now, how many variant covers, because Marvel's been doing a lot of variant covers lately, how many variant covers are we going to get for Captain Marvel #1?
I'd have to look up the exact number, but several of them that I'm going to have in store. One of them is going to be a movie variant, of course.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, they're going to have a movie variant.
Of course.
Time. There's some of the higher ratio variants, like Ross is doing a variant, Alex Ross, which everybody loves his art, Adam Hughes. So it's going to be a lot of different variants for it. And we'll have plenty of the cover A's in store too. Now, if anybody wants to do any back reading to kind of get prepped for the series, Life of Captain Marvel is a series that's came out the last few months. That's a good one. It expands on her origin, which I'm doing some back reading on it this weekend. I've grabbed number 1. I'm about to read the rest of the 5-part series. So that's a good starting point there to lead you into the Captain Marvel number 1.
And with the Marvel hype around these movies too, it seems like their movies are almost supporting the comic books at this point instead of vice versa. Because I know a lot of people have come in after Avengers Infinity War wanting to know more about Thanos and go back and get his solo series or something like that. So it's got to be a great time to own a comic book shop, because these movies, I would think, are just driving traffic into you.
Oh, yes, it is. I expect the same thing to happen with Captain Marvel, and it already is. Some with Life of Captain Marvel has sold pretty well, and even myself, I casually knew a little bit about Captain Marvel, but now that the movie's coming up, I'm like, okay, I want to do some research, and she is one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel universe. So, yeah, that's a great point. That now the comics are feeding off the movies too. It's not replacing it; it's helping it. And of course, us comic geeks, we want as much information as we can, on the stuff. And Marvel's got a lot invested in this character. It's the first female-led, Marvel movie.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see if it can kind of rival with Wonder Woman in that realm, And the trailers look epic. I mean, I've watched the trailers repeatedly, the first 2 trailers for Captain Marvel, and it's visually stunning. It has an epic feel to it, a lot of energy in it. Some people are just going to watch it just to find out what they can find out about Avengers Endgame coming up. I mean, I don't see this train slowing down anytime soon with the Marvel movies. It's a great time.
Exactly right. And for those of you who are also wanting to go back there and do some back reading, you might want to go pick up Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 16, the first appearance of Monica Rambeau as Captain Marvel, who is my Captain Marvel growing up. And she makes a cameo, or at least a cameo, in this film. She's one of the fighter pilots, and he even says Photon, which is one of the names she ended up going by after Captain Marvel on the side of her plane. So I'm excited to see that take place and how they'll spin all that out as well with the Captain Marvel onslaught we're going to be hit with pretty soon. What else is coming out this coming New Comic Book Day, or what else are you seeing that's came out in the last couple of weeks that's still very hot?
Well, there's a few things that are hot. A couple things that are particularly hot in our store is Immortal Hulk. It's still going very well. It's through issue 11 right now. If you like the Hulk, you'll like it. Or if you're just somebody that likes horror and sci-fi, that'll really appeal to you. Heroes in Crisis is a hot series too. The art is very crisp. It's amazing, and if anybody's a fan of Tom King, they'll like that too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a recent one, I believe it came out, I'm thinking it was either last week or before, is Darth Vader number 25, Star Wars Darth Vader number 25. It's got a major reveal in it. I don't want to spoil it, but it's a hot comic right now too. Some variants, like Matina variants, especially with DC, really hot stuff. Just amazing art. We've done some Deathstroke variants and some Batman variants, and it's amazing. Very, very color rich and very good at putting the villains on the variants. Yeah.
And I will say, for those of you listening, especially if you're in the St. Louis area, that's one of the reasons I love going to your shop, Justin, because if I know there's a variant out there that I want, I generally can get it at your place. You guys always have a good stock of variants there.
Oh, yeah. I've been told by many people that we have the most variants in the St. Louis area. I mean, we get over 100 titles a week and probably anywhere 300 plus covers a week. So it's a big variety of different covers if you like collecting certain ones. And, there's some people, I don't like the variants as much. If you keep coming to my store, you'll eventually, you'll find one that you like. And we got the cover A's too, but we have such a good variety of variants that there will be one that you'll like.
Yeah, and I'm a sucker, especially you mentioned Darth Vader, the Star Wars covers. They do those action figure covers, and I always have to get those. I think that's my entire run of the new Marvel Star Wars series are all action figure variants.
Yeah, and everybody has their own. The Scotty Young variants are big too, action figure variants, and that's the good thing about having the variety with it. Like some of them, I've always wondered, like, oh, I didn't know people really like Scotty Young that much, and I got to the store. Well, I knew people like Scotty Young, but not to this level. Those go very well. Same way with action figure variants. I've had somebody come in before, like, where's all your action figure variants at? So that's a cool part. It's fun with collecting. It's art too. So it adds another fun dimension to it all.
And what's an independent comic? Because I know a lot of times I'm very guilty of it. I focus a lot on Marvel and DC. But what's an independent comic that you're seeing that you are having trouble keeping in stock, or you're surprised by how hot it is?
There's quite a few. I guess like there's one it's a very rare comic. I know it has something to do with zombies. I'm not as big on it, but it's called Rags. It's done by Antarctic Press. They've had, a lot of their stuff is like low run, so it's very hot commodities. They'll go up in value very fast, but they're hitting really the indie community very well. Same way with Scout Comics. They're another one. They've done Stabby Bunny. They've done The Source. The Source is really well. We've sold out, but I'll promote it anyways because it's a story based in East St. Louis. It's about somebody who's supposed to bring magic back. It's a really good story done by Scout Comics. So them are a couple to look out for. If you see Scout Comics on or Antarctic Press, it might be worth grabbing it up and checking the story out.
Absolutely. And I mentioned your Instagram account. Tell people where they can find you online if they want to start following along, seeing all the cool stuff you post.
Yeah, on Twitter we're on Justin's Comics 1. On Facebook, it's under Justin's Comics. You can also check out our website, justinscomics.shop. And we're located on 500 South 5th Street in St. Charles, Missouri. We're right next to the Dollar General there.
Yeah, it's a prime location right there on 5th Street if you're in the St. Charles area, which we always tell people to go to St. Charles anyway because it's one of the sponsors. But, it's a nice location you've got there. And like I said, if you're looking for a hard-to-find variant or anything like that, Justin's Comics is the place I would start going to. Justin Burnett, thank you so much for being on air. We'll do it again the 1st of next month.
All right, yeah, thanks. I look forward to coming back on.
Absolutely. Take care. There he goes, Justin Burnett of Justin's Comics. Again, that's justinscomics.shop. You can follow him on Instagram and Twitter at Justin's Comics, the numeral 1 for all the cool stuff they've got going on, specials, deals, and in-store stuff. We're going to come right back after this, talking a little bit with Dean Devlin about Bad Samaritan, one of the overlooked films of 2018. Stand by.
Hi, this is Leslie Ann Brunt. I play Mazikeen on Lucifer, and you're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
We are back. This segment brought to you by Marcus Theaters. That's marcustheaters.com. If you're a movie fan, get out and see Escape Room or Mary Poppins Returns or Aquaman or Bumblebee in a Marcus Theater. There are 11 different states in which you can find one. Not even kidding. We just had a friend in town for the holidays who was talking. He sees some movies out of state, and he was mentioning a couple theaters. He's like, this one seems a little run down, and this one, it seems like the service was bad. And then I said, have you been to one of the ones since you've been in town here? And his eyes lit up. He says, yeah, I just went down to Ronnie's, and wow, it's breathtaking. He said the seats are great. They feel like everything's brand new. The food, the popcorn was really fresh. And this is a guy who goes to a lot of movie theaters. We kind of bond over movies, my friend Jay and I. And he was blown away. And that's the feeling you're going to get if you go to a Marcus Theaters location. That's just the way it is. They've updated and renovated so many of the theaters here in St. Louis. We're very lucky here in Missouri to have Ronnie's and DePere and Chesterfield. But they've just done amazing work, and all their theaters are fantastic. All the concessions you can get, the different places to eat, the 5-star lounge, the Bistroplex, if you like having the big screen bistro where you can sit there and have the food brought to you while you have dinner and a movie all in the same place. But also the rewards, the magical movie rewards, which I am a member of. You get all the perks of that. You can enroll in that right there on the website, marcustheaters.com. You can check out the now playing movies that are coming out soon. You can check out everything. Get your tickets right there online. marcustheaters.com is that website for all your movie-going needs. Speaking of movies, one of the, I think, underrated movies of 2018, which was absolutely brilliant, starring Robert Sheehan and David Tennant, was Bad Samaritan, directed by Dean Devlin, and we had a little talk with Dean earlier this year about the film.
We had Jeff Anderson from Legion M on last week talking about the process of the movie and everything, and he told me to ask you specifically about getting David Tennant for the role.
Well, I'm a giant Doctor Who nerd, and I love Doctor Who, and he's my favorite Doctor, and so I really desperately wanted him to do the movie. So we had arranged a Skype call, and he was in London, and I was in Los Angeles. And I'm trying to give the appearance of a sophisticated, clever director, and that facade lasted about 5 minutes, and then I started fanboying and asking about the TARDIS and the sonic screwdriver, and it just deteriorated very quickly until finally I opened my shirt to reveal that I had a Doctor Who T-shirt on, at which point he reminded me that the logo of the T-shirt I had was for the 11th Doctor, and he was the 10th Doctor, and that was pretty embarrassing, so I had to take my foot out of my mouth, but luckily he forgave me, and he agreed to do the movie anyway.
And with Bad Samaritan, you've been promoting this. I've caught you on your Periscope on WonderCon, and you're walking around the floor this past weekend at Wizard World Portland. It seems like everyone who has been exposed to Bad Samaritan, that you showed the movie, that you mentioned it, it's been getting such positive traction. Is that mostly just from, I think, word of mouth, I guess, or are there other aspects in place that you're pursuing besides just social media?
Well, this movie has been made completely independently, and we're actually releasing it ourselves into theaters. So there's no studio behind it. There's no big giant machine, and unfortunately, there's not the kind of big ad dollars that normal movies have. So we've really approached this whole film as one might a grassroots political campaign. We're going directly to the people who like genre entertainment, and we're trying to show them enough of the film or the entire film to say, we think that this is worthy of your attention, and if you agree, would you please become ambassadors for us and help us spread the word? And, genre fans are the least pretentious people on the planet, but they're also very particular about what they like and they don't like. And we've been basically doing a road show trying to convince fans that this is worthy of their attention. And for the most part, it's been a spectacular success, and we've got people online who are promoting the movie and talking about the film. You mentioned Legion M. Legion M has, so far, they've set up 75 meetups for opening weekend, and they say they're adding new meetups every single day. So I think it's going to be, if the movie succeeds, it will be because of the fans. In normal movies, there's all this advertising that says, you're going to like this film. This is a movie where the fans themselves will get to say to people, this is our film and you should see it with us.
And do you think with a lot of the bigger budgets, the films that have come out that haven't necessarily done as well as the big studios would hope, and then you see independent films kind of being, I don't want to say more appreciated, but getting more traction as a result, do you think that these independent films, the companies like Legion M, would you say this is kind of like maybe the way the future is starting to trend for movie making?
I think it's going to have to. I mean, to me, I'm old enough to remember when the music industry was dying in the 70s, and suddenly in the beginning of the 80s, there was all these little labels that was creating new music, like hip-hop, and it revitalized the entire industry. And I think the movie industry needs this now, because studios have basically decided they only want to hit home runs. They only want to make $250 million giant superhero movies. And while those movies are great, I think the appetite of a genre fan is much wider. We want a bigger menu, and there's a whole bunch of films that, for the most part, they aren't really making anymore. And so I think it's going to be up to independent labels like myself or entertainment studios or STX to fill that gap.
That's it. We're going to come right back talking with Casey Walsh from the Geeks Worldwide all about what's the best of 2018, so stand by.
Somewhere some villain schemes, but his number's up. 3, 2, 1. Dark winged up.
Hi, this is Sean Sipos. You know me from Krypton playing Adam Strange. Welcome to Geek to Me Radio.
We are back. Our guest now, Casey Walsh from the Geeks Worldwide. If you are looking for all things geek, the Geeks Worldwide website is the place to go. Movie reviews, news bits, spoilers, all sorts of fun stuff and more. Casey, thanks very much for joining us today.
No problem, man. Anytime.
So I know you guys are doing on the Geeks Worldwide a best of 2018, and I know being as involved in the geek culture as you are, I'm sure you've got your own personal list. What do you think were some of the highlights that we had, be it TV, comics, movies, video games? What do you think?
Oh man, I think it was a good year for all of the above. To be honest, I mean, movie-wise, we got things like Into the Spider-Verse, in Avengers: Infinity War, that were both just amazing, kind of titular movies that pushed the genre forward. TV, we got things like Daredevil, which unfortunately is probably the last season, or is the last season, but probably was the best season of the three. And then stuff like Sabrina the Teenage Witch, which kind of took an old classic and turned it into something new and scary and more adult. In video games, there was Spider-Man on PlayStation 4, which everyone really loved, and God of War, which everyone really loved, and then, of course, Red Dead Redemption, which seems to have taken over the video game landscape for the past couple months.
I keep talking to everybody I see. Have you played this yet? I'm like, no, I haven't. Sorry. I feel like I'm the only one who hasn't been playing it.
Yeah, I mean, Red Dead Redemption is definitely an awesome experience. Probably not my personal game of the year. I'd probably go with something like Spider-Man or God of War, just because those games end. Red Dead Redemption seems to be more of like a cowboy simulator and something you could play probably for the rest of your life if you really wanted to.
And we talked a lot about movies over the past couple of weeks because we did have a lot of great movies. And like you mentioned, Avengers, it seems like it was longer ago or like into 2017, but Black Panther, because it was February, seems like it was longer ago than it really was. But that broke all sorts of records and now up for Best Picture nomination, which is very surprising.
Yeah, I think, Best Producing Guild. I don't think it's up for Best Picture yet. I don't think they've announced an Oscar nomination. I could be wrong, though. But yeah, usually the Producers Guild stuff kind of predicts what the Oscar nominations will be, so it's a very good chance it'll get a Best Picture nomination. But yeah, I mean, Black Panther was a huge hit, a huge surprise for everyone, and I think a huge step forward for the genre and for Marvel in general, both in storytelling and their diversity of characters.
Yeah, just to see a comic book movie given that high of an honor is like, wow, this is kind of very cool for us to see.
Yeah, and hopefully it happens more. I mean, like I said, like things like Infinity War and Black Panther and Into the Spider-Verse kind of show us that like these genre films can be more than just a fun time at the movies, and it can actually tell a compelling emotional story and captivate audiences all at the same time.
And I know, just speaking of movies, I know Aquaman's doing gangbusters. I think it just edged past Wonder Woman at the international box office now. It's still got its detractors, which I don't understand because I see people detracting from it who are hardcore Snyder fans and also who are supposedly DC fans, which I'm not sure why either side would be detracting from it. But I know you and I both saw it. I gave it a rave review. I didn't get a chance to talk with you, though, about what you thought of Aquaman.
I love the movie. I think it's like kind of that Avatar spectacle for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's very beautiful. It's fun to watch. It's a movie I will certainly watch over and over again. I said this, it's probably the only DCU movie that I will watch over and over again because it has that incredible rewatchability. It's beautifully gorgeous. It's fun to watch. I mean, but when it comes down to story-wise and it comes down to the characters, I did feel it kind of lacked in those instances. Jason Momoa is good as Aquaman. Amber Heard was fine as Mera. I think Orem was definitely the highlight, but again, it was so corny and cheesy in some points that it felt like a 90s movie that they were able to like make in 2018.
Yeah, and I know I would have liked to have seen more of Black Manta. I feel like he's a character they should have either just hinted at and given us more in the sequel, because I kind of felt like he was underutilized for being such a main Aquaman villain.
Yeah, my main issue with it was that too is we got the like kind of like one-off villains that are more setups for the future, and we also didn't really touch on what Aquaman is about. It's kind of preserving the planet, and you get that one line or two lines from Orem and saying why he wants to take down the surface world. But I mean, I just really felt like if you're going to have, especially in the era of Black Panther, where that was a very like politically charged movie, that you could do the same thing with Aquaman and have it like, hey, we're destroying our planet, and here's a movie about destroying our planet and a superhero who wants to save it. And I really wish they would have leaned more into that and less into like the Chosen One story that we've seen 100 times over.
While we're talking about films, we just had a little clip from Dean Devlin talking about Bad Samaritan, which I feel was a huge underrated film. I love that movie. And Max and I, my producer, were talking about Annihilation. Do you have any movies that you feel like just didn't get the credit they deserved in 2018?
I think I agree on Annihilation. I think that one was a weird thing because it got released here in the U.S. and then on Netflix internationally. So, and I think a lot of people forgot about it, but Annihilation is another fantastic movie. I think Roma is really good. I don't know about underrated, but it's on another Netflix project that maybe a lot of people won't see just because it's on Netflix, or they will see. I don't know how that stuff shakes out because Bird Box seemed to destroy Netflix's bandwidth. But so, I mean, I'm really hoping that I think Upgrade is a fun movie that a lot of people didn't see. Another one is Mandy, which is a weird Nicolas Cage movie that a lot of people didn't see that I think everyone should kind of see. There's a lot out there, and I think hopefully Oscar and award season will kind of bring some of those like smaller films to light. But again, if you only see one movie this entire year, I think it has to be Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah,
it just hits every demo. It just hits every like brain neuron. Like it's a perfect film in my opinion.
And obviously we get inundated with people's opinions and what they like and don't like on Twitter and social media, and I literally don't think I've seen a single negative thing about Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, it's hard to say anything bad about that movie. Like I said, it just hits every demo. It just hits everything that you want to see in a movie, and it's so innovative and so new and so cool. That I really hope, like I said, I hope Sony kind of takes notice, and it sounds like they have, that they really expand that universe and not the live-action Venom universe that also did extremely well, unbeknownst to anyone. But, so I hope that the right lessons are learned this year and then we move these genres forward. But, I mean, like I said, I really don't want to keep seeing the same movies over and over again, and that's my fear for DC, is that they're where they're at where Marvel was at 10 years ago, and that's totally fine, and Aquaman's a totally enjoyable experience, but I want to see them push the genre as we move forward.
And I will say Nicolas Cage has been having a pretty good year. Got to voice Superman and Teen Titans Go to the Movies. Now he got the Spider-Man Noir and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and then he might get some critical acclaim here for Mandy. So banner year for Nicolas Cage, I'd say.
Yeah, I when is his tax problem going to be over, and then he can start doing real movies again, but I agree. I'm glad to see his resurgence. I think voice acting is maybe something that he should explore more, and I really hope that we get some kind of Spider-Man Noir spinoff, even though I don't think we will.
That'd be great. And what about, is there anything as we wrap up? I know you've had a lot of people submit their best of 2018s to you for the website, thegww.com for the Geeks Worldwide. What have you been most surprised about that people liked that you were kind of like, really? That one?
There's not really any. I think TV mostly is where I'm like, okay. We got a lot of Winona Earp stuff, I think, with the popular one amongst our crew, which is a show I just don't watch. So that's surprising. Surprisingly, a lot of people agreed with me about Sabrina, which I was kind of shocked because, again, it's a really niche kind of story, and unless you've been following the comics, it totally takes a far left field than what we're all kind of used to from TGI Friday Sabrina. So those were cool surprises. But I mean, everyone's kind of in line when it comes to that type of stuff. Nothing is totally shocking.
And I know we just mentioned the website, but tell everyone if they want to find you personally or if they want to follow Geeks Worldwide on social media, where they can look you up.
Sure, you can find me at The Comics Kid. That's the COMIXKID. And you can also follow us, the website at _GWW. And yeah, we're posting our best of on Monday. And we have a bunch of cool stuff planned for 2019. That's what you're hearing, right? 2019. Right. Moving forward, and there's a bunch of stuff to look forward to this year as well.
Fantastic. We'll have you on again soon. We'll talk about maybe after the list is posted or what's coming up for looking forward to in 2019 now that we've looked back at 2018.
I would love that. Thanks, James.
Thank you so much. There he goes, Casey Walsh from the Geeks Worldwide. Thank you very much once again for all that you do. And we're going to come right back and wrap things up after this, so stand by.
Sword of Omens, come to my hand. I, Lion-O, command it. Hi, this is Larry Kennedy, the voice of Lion-O, and you're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
We are back. As we wrap up, I put a Twitter comment out asking people what their favorite 2018 was for video game, movie, TV show. We had a user on Twitter at Mike Schmidt09 said Smash Brothers Ultimate for video game, Infinity War for movie, Daredevil for TV show, and Darth Vader for comic. Max on Movies replied to me as well. Video game was Celeste. movie Annihilation, which we talked about, very underrated film. TV show The Haunting of Hill House, which is still in my Netflix queue. I've got one episode in. I need to finish it. And comic book Action Comics 1000. That was a huge milestone. That was a big, big one. User on Twitter @TheFirstBat said South Park, The Fractured But Whole for video game. First Man for movie, which was good. It was very good. It wasn't my favorite movie. Final Space for TV show. And Upgrade Soul, I guess, for comic book. And then we've had a lot of other people reply. We had user @ELTOOL was Warcraft, because that's all he plays. Justice League for movie, which I think was 2017, though. Daredevil, again, for TV show, and Dark Knight's Metal, which Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo really killed it on Dark Knight's Metal. If you want to follow me on Twitter, Geek to Me Radio, I greatly appreciate it. We are closing in on 9,000 followers. My goal is to hopefully have over 10,000 followers by the time we go to Planet Comic Con to do our live broadcast at the end of March. So if you could follow me on Twitter, it would really make me happy. Thank you so much. And of course, we try to always tweet cool stuff and let you know what's coming up on the show. We want to hear from you too, by the way. If you have a suggestion for a show, if you've got a comic book you think should be promoted, if you've got a star you want me to try to get on, you can email me directly. It's geektomeradio@gmail.com. That is a dedicated email that's strictly for fans of the show, listeners to email me, let me know suggestions. Please be kind. Again, my ego is very fragile. I'm in radio. But yeah, shoot me an email there, geektomeradio@gmail.com. And please follow me on Instagram as well, Geek to Me Radio again. I'm going to be doing a massive sell-off of some of my comic book collection. I've gone through this weekend. We're taking pictures of all the stuff. A lot of Silver Age, Amazing Spider-Man, Avengers, first appearance of people like the Scorpion and the Shocker. First appearance of Captain America in the Silver Age. Avengers number 4 is going to be in that list. First appearance of Animal Man from Strange Adventures. We've got a lot of stuff going up there. First appearance of Dr. Polaris from Green Lantern issue 30-something. But I was going through pulling a lot of my collection, so you can follow me on Twitter, and I will post those links to my eBay page if you want to get some Silver Age goodness. That's going to do it for us. We apologize we didn't get to that clip with Tony Isabella. We'll play that next week for you, talking about all about Black Lightning when it comes back for the second half of Season 2. So until next week, my friends.
It's not in the way you watch a zombie. It's not in the way you watch The Flash. It's not in the way you love Scotty Young art. It's not in the way you play Mario Kart. It's not in the way you look when you make Game of Thrones references. That's a show. This is Geek to Me Radio. That's our show. This is Geek to Me Radio.
Thank you, 2018. Good night.